Hi, my name is George Acevedo and I'm one of the pastors here at Grace Church. I want to welcome you to this last week of the Circle Maker small group that you're a part of. I hope that in these weeks you've so loved being with your fellow followers of Jesus in this journey that you'll decide to continue to meet as a small group. It can really change your life as you live in community, studying the Bible and praying together and sharing your life together with one another. You know, we've been talking together about what it means for us to pray circles around those impossible situations in our life, in our church, in our home, in our businesses, in our community, and in our world. And whenever I think about praying these bold prayers, I always think about the prophet Nehemiah. Nehemiah is one of my favorites because he was the cupbearer of the king of Babylon. And he had received word back in Babylon that the walls around the city of David, Jerusalem, had been torn down. And it broke his heart. And so he went to prayer. It's the very first thing he did. And he prayed a bold prayer. He said, God, if you'll help me, if you'll give me favor with the king, I'm going to go and rebuild the walls around Jerusalem. And sure enough, after praying that bold prayer, within a period of time, the king gave him his blessing, his favor. The king provided resources. He provided permission for Nehemiah to travel from Babylon back to Jerusalem. And over a period of 52 days, he and the other Jews rebuilt the wall around Jerusalem. Now, the truth was that throughout the whole experience of rebuilding the wall, they were up against huge opposition. Sanballat and Tobiah were their names. I call them foot draggers, naysayers. They were pushing back against the work of God that Nehemiah was leading. And you know, whenever you pray, there will always be foot draggers and naysayers, Sanballats and Tobiahs, who will push back against your prayer needs, against your circles that you're praying around these impossible situations. But what Nehemiah did is he kept his eyes focused on God and he led in a God-honoring way, so that 52 days later, they were able to celebrate the completion of the wall around Jerusalem. Now, when I think about Nehemiah-type prayer men and women who I know today, I always think about my mom. Now, some of you know that I wasn't raised in a Christian home, that I became a follower of Jesus just a few days before my 18th birthday. And right at the top of my list to see people come to know Jesus was my mom. I'm a momless boy and I love her. I still love her today. And I prayed and prayed. As a matter of fact, I was on my knees, literally on my knees, praying for my mother when the phone rang and I picked it up. And it was her telling me that she had just invited Jesus into her life in her mid-50s. And so after Mom became a Christian, I saw this woman who had been filled with worry and anxiety transformed into a prayer warrior, into an intercessor, into a woman of prayer. And to this very day, in her late 80s, my mom's ministry is a ministry of prayer. And what I've noticed about my mom is that there have been lots of naysayers and Sanballats that have pushed against her prayer circles for her impossible situations. But my mom continues to pray. She has her prayer journal, her prayer Bible. She has books on prayer. And she continues to wear out her knees praying for me, for our family, for Grace Church, for my brother and his family, for my sister and her family, and for this world, quite frankly. Because Mom has learned what it means to be persistent in prayer, to never give up, to stay in prayer even when the naysayers and the foot draggers come. God invites us to live lives of bold prayer. Well, we have to see the long view. We can't see prayer as just, again, being a one-time thing. It's something we must continue to do. It's a long obedience in the same direction. Do you remember that illustration Jesus used? It's an illustration of a farmer who's tilling the soil. And here's what Jesus said. He says, no one puts their hand to the plow and then looks back. And see, what Jesus understood was that a farmer who would hold a plow being pulled by an oxen, if he looked back, his rows would get crooked. And so he has to keep his eyes forward, keep moving forward. And that's what God wants you to do in your prayer life. Keep moving forward. Be like Nehemiah. Be like my mom. Be like the good farmer who puts his hand to the plow and doesn't look back. Keep praying.